life is kind of meaningless. And I don't mean in like a depressive, nothing matters sort of sense, but in a sense that we're only here for a finite time. We can only have so much impact on the world around us. And the only real things we can control are ourselves. So we should really embrace it, right? Embrace day to day. Embrace the bad and the good. And actively pursue life. And I mean, learn to enjoy our everyday and the journey of your life, instead of just like waiting for things to change or get better. Because only through like active learning and actively changing parts of your life can we really move forward and enjoy some of this meaninglessness. I've always been a very calm and like thoughtful person, or at least I like to think so. And I never really let things get to me too bad, although there have been many times when they do. But in my base state, I've always been kind of stoic. And I didn't realize this until a couple years ago when I picked up the first book I've ever read. Not the first book I've ever read, but like the first book I read in a very, very long time, which was Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Classic. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't read it, you should probably give it a go. It's very thoughtful and thought-provoking, and it's just a glimpse into a very powerful man's life and him dealing with this kind of the same issues that we deal with, you know? That could be like confidence and friendships and all sorts. The book goes in depth into so many different things. And like talking about books in general, I mean, you just got to read the classics, because these people, like these books, they show that people have had the same problems and issues for millennia, and it's really like refreshing to see yourself in characters in these old books. There's a reason they've lasted forever, not only because they're super entertaining, but because they have like messages and themes that roll on into this new generation and all the generations previous. These are real human problems, and these are real human books. Going back to Stoicism and Marcus Aurelius, when I first read Marcus, I was shocked to find that he thought like very much the same way that I did. And like I'd never put philosophy like into my brain before. I just felt this sort of way where like, oh, if something's in my control, you know, that's fine. And if something isn't in my control, I shouldn't worry about it, you know? If something is not in my control, I shouldn't have to worry about it. And if something is in my control and it's bothering me, I can make active changes. And it took, like, I don't want to say it took me forever to, like, realize the importance of this, because, you know, it's just something that's been ingrained in me since I was a kid. But I can tell that it could be really important stuff for lots of different people out there, because not everyone thinks the same, obviously. And it's interesting to see how this, like, philosopher, emperor, or whatever, of the Roman Empire had to actively think about these things, actively be a Stoic. I've read many more books on Stoicism. I'd recommend little things like Lessons in Stoicism by John Sellers. That's literally like 100 pages or something. It's a quick flick through, and it's just enlightening, and it makes you think in a different way. And it puts Stoicism into a modern lens as well as being, you know, quite an ancient practice, I suppose. But yeah, here I'm just going to list some things now. Here are some ways that I've helped try improve myself and bring some meaningfulness into this meaningless life. So the first thing I decided to change when I woke up one morning about a month ago and something clicked in my head saying I should be better, I should do better, was my sleep. I'm a chef. I work silly hours, I get home late, and I used to just kind of rot, you know? I would finish work about 10 or 11 o'clock, get home, and either play a video game, get drunk, or I wouldn't be using my evenings. A lot of the time I would just be sat on my phone in bed, And I'd be up until 2, 3 in the morning, and then I'd wake up at 10 or 11, and I'd be so groggy and awful, and I'd just get up and go straight to work. No breakfast, nothing. You know, at the beginning, years ago, when I first started being a chef, it was doable. And now I think I'm only 29, but my age is catching up with me. So I've realised that that kind of lifestyle was eating away at me. It was around December last year. I was working lots of hours, and I felt like I was dying. Not only in like my body, like I was obviously very tired and achy, but my mind, I wasn't me, and I wasn't in a right space. And it kind of continued through January a little bit. And it wasn't until a month ago I decided one night I'm just going to wake up at like 7 or 8 a.m. and I'm going to stay awake. Doesn't matter what time I go to sleep. I'm just going to force myself awake. I'm going to make myself knackered, so then the next evening I can fall asleep. And so I did. I woke up one morning at 7. I got myself out of bed and I made myself breakfast, and I had an all right morning. I spent most of it watching YouTube on my laptop. But and then I went to work. I worked the whole day, and I got home and I was knackered, but that's no different to usual. But I'd watched a Paulie Walnuts video on reading before bed, and I thought I'd give it a go. I've had this book for ages, because I stopped reading for years, and I've had this book that came out last year. It's the Odyssey. It's not the original Odyssey. I've read that before in the past as well. This was Stephen Fry's version on it. A really beautiful book. And I bought it thinking I'd sit down and read it, but I never got around to it. So this one night, I just got into bed and I said I'd read for 15 minutes. And once it gets to 15 minutes, I'm just going to turn the lights off and stop and go to bed. And I probably ended up reading for about 20. I think my body realised, oh, this is actually really nice. And it really did calm my body down. And after 20 minutes, I finished the chapter I was on. I closed the book and turned off the lights. And I'm not going to lie to you, it wasn't instant. But 5, 10, 15 minutes later, knocked out. And I'd set alarms early in the morning again. And I woke up all right. And instead of picking up my phone, I just silenced my alarms. And I picked up the book. And I read for another 10 minutes. And it brought me back to life. Like this, keeping up with this for a month has kind of changed my life. I'm completely less groggy. I'm so much more like up and about, and like I'm with it in my brain. I'm not like full of fog. I'm kind of like thinking clearly, and I'm thinking slower, which doesn't sound too good, but imagine all these voices in your head constantly, memes, songs, everything that gets stuck in there. My brain's rewired itself, and it's starting to slow down and just be calm. I used to never be able to walk anywhere without my headphones. It was too boring. I just couldn't hack it. And since getting better sleep and doing a little bit of reading, I just go on walks without my headphones now. I walk to work without my headphones. I've got some woods near me that I like to visit, and to the shops, and it doesn't feel boring. At some point, when you walk for long enough, even if it's just like 5-10 minutes, it calms you down, and it like you go into like a meditative state. So this is just another thing that I'd recommend to anyone. If you've got an hour spare, 2 hours spare in your day, just go outside. Even if it's raining a little bit. I mean, it'll soon be summer. Can't stay inside all summer. That's kind of what I did last year, and I think that's what probably got me into this rut. But I'm excited to go out and read this summer in my spare time. But going back to life being kind of meaningless, I've always struggled with choosing life, and like I think of like train spotting when I think of that, and it's between choosing two different lives, and they can be interchangeable. I personally want to pick one or the other, and I always flip-flop between the two, but I'm going to try stay disciplined to stay in one way. And that's like choosing between life in the sense of partying, chasing highs, having all the fun in the world, but you know, that also comes with its downsides. And then choosing life in the sense of being okay with the mundane, being creative, thinking of my future and my future family, and just enjoying life now and not waiting for something great I booked my holidays this year. I'm very lucky because I know not everyone out there can afford holidays, but I saved quite a bit of money just trying to be frugal. I thought I'm going to treat myself, so I booked some holidays this year, and obviously I'm looking forward to them and I can't wait, but I'm also looking forward to the time between them, the everyday. So instead of like my life being like Instagram stories where it's like a short highlight reel here and there, highlight every month, I went out and had a drink. Brilliant. Instead, every day's becoming my highlight reel. I said in my last video I'm trying to learn to code, taking the CS50 course from Harvard, and I'd recommend that to anyone. It's actually quite a bit of fun, and it's mind-boggling, and I'm not going to lie, I do get angry at myself sometimes not understanding it all, but it's helping me just be a little spot more creative, and the same with this YouTube channel. I'm putting myself out there and I'm trying to be a little bit more creative, being a little bit more thoughtful, just trying to be a better person. In all honesty, I would like to be Uncle Iroh in the future. Uncle Iroh from Avatar: The Last Airbender. He's who I look up to, he's who I want to be. Wise, old man who just knows what to say and has the right advice. And I think it's possible. I think anyone can achieve their dreams if they set their mind to it. And of course, there's lots of things in modern life that's putting us back. For me, it was my phone and just memes and distractions. Twitter was a big one. I find that like limiting myself on Twitter like stops me like being anxious or nervous, and it really like winds everything in to like my life. Because I don't need to know what Johnny in Nepal's doing, and it's good to keep up with politics, I suppose, but when you don't for a moment, you realise it's all just rage bait, and it's trying to get you to feel some kind of way. And as much as I like being appalled on the internet, it feels a lot better when you step back from it all. I don't know where I've been going with this video, I've just been rambling, but life is kind of meaningless. This video is kind of meaningless, but I just wanted to talk a little bit. How many people out there can say they are truly happy? I was quite content doing nothing, being on my phone and just living life and waiting paycheck to paycheck. And I thought I was happy, but I found so much more in life from trying to create, from learning, stepping out of my comfort zone. And I implore you all to do the same. Start with sleep. If your sleep is messed up, start there. That's what I did. Then get into reading. In the future, I'm hoping to get back into the gym maybe. After this video, I think I'm going to do a little bit of yoga and maybe some meditation. I'm going to try to be disciplined and force myself to do this every day. Or once every couple of days at least. But that's the next step for me, and I'm sure I'll fill you in how these things work, and if they work for me, I don't know. Next week or in the next couple of days, I don't know. I'm sure I'll upload again something just as boring and waffly. I want to thank you all for watching, and if you got this far, cool, thank you. Leave a comment, I'd love to hear what people think. I'm not expecting many views or sponsorship anytime soon, but it'd be nice to hear from you guys. Yeah, lots of love. Bye bye.